pen. All right. Okay, so you add it to your table of contents. Okay, so we have two-way tables. So if you look at the front of your purple foldable, why do you think that they call them two-way tables? They're two different categories. So if we look at this, what is the category for this side of your table? Category. How would you say gender would be a category here? What would be the category at the top? Cars. Okay, so there are two categories. Two-way tables always have two categories. When I look at this table, sometimes they have the totals on the side, and sometimes they leave the totals off, and you might have to find some. But what's true about the rows and columns of all two-way tables? What's true about this row? We're going to add up to the end guy, right? And that's going to be true about all of them. It's going to go up and down also. So if you're ever missing things, you guys know how to fill in your table so that your two-way table works out, right? You know if you have a wrong number in there, then things are not going to work out, and then you know to fix it. Yeah? Okay. So we have how we're going to find the probability here. So just like before, probability, we're going to use this little formula, which is exactly the same thing we have been using. So it's the number of occurrences or the favorable over the total, correct? Now, when I look at this table, though, how many totals are there in that table? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 totals. So in this table, there are 5 totals. So one of the things we have to be careful about is picking the correct total. You have to read carefully so that you know what the total is. Now, when we did the practice thinking test, that was one of the things that kept happening when I walked around. People were picking the wrong totals. So if you're picking out of everybody, there's a certain total you pick. If you're picking out of everybody, what's the number you're going to pick? 240. If I'm picking out of only the people who own sports cars, what number is my total? 84. If I'm picking only males, what number am I using for my total? Okay, so you got to be careful. If it says a randomly selected person, what am I going to use? 240. A randomly selected SUV owner, I'm going to pick what? If a randomly selected male, I'm going to pick 60. So you got to look for what they're randomly selecting out of to decide which of those 5 totals you're going to use, okay? And you can have more than 5 totals depending on how big your table is, right? So you got to read. Other things to remember, that probability is written as a number between 0 and 1. And so we know it can be written as a decimal or a fraction, right? Because we can have decimals that are between 0 and 1, and we can have fractions that are in between 0 and 1. So a decimal like 0.46, that's between 0 and 1. A fraction like 2/3, that's between 0 and 1, right? And the last part, the last little helpful hint we have, in order to convert to a percent, you can multiply by 100, right? Now here's the deal. Do not change to a percent unless they ask you for a percent. Is that clear? They'll mark it wrong. So put a little note here, only if they ask. I noticed the very first time I put some two-way tables up on the board, some of you guys were super anxious to turn everything right into a percent, right? Regular probability is not a percent. If they say percent, what's the percent chance? Yep, change it to a percent. If they say percentage in the story, then change it to a percent. Otherwise, leave it as a decimal or a fraction. Okie dokie? Okay, so we're going to use that table, and we're going to do 3 questions about it, and we're going to be super extra in our foldable. So these are the 3 questions at the bottom of your foldable. I just pasted this over here so you could see it. So let's pick 3 colors, because we're going to do 3 problems, and And that way we have 3 different colors, because we're going to do 3 different questions. What color do we want? Blue? Okay, I'm going to do the first one blue. So I'm going to do A in blue. Okay, so I want the probability that a randomly selected male owns a sports car. What's important? Probability that a randomly selected male owns a sports car. Okay, so a randomly selected male. What does that mean my total is going to be then? Randomly selected male. So in my table, let's box this up. For this question, I am only using numbers that are in my little blue box. Because, don't you scribble these out. This rest of this stuff I can ignore for this problem. Don't scribble it out though, because we have 2 more things. I have an undo button, you do not. Okay, so don't use anything else except male stuff. Okay? So that means our male is going to be our total. So what is the total we're going to use? So we'll be using 60. That's going to be our total. Now we know it's going to be the number of favorable or the number of occurrences over the total. So we need to have some number over the total, yeah? So we know it's going to be 60 on the bottom because that's going to be our total. It's going to be some number over total. So what is the sum number we're talking about? We're talking about sports car people, right? So this is going to be our sports car people on the top. So who are our sports car people? 39, 45, or 84? 39. So it's going to be 39 out of 60. Is that a number between 0 and 1? Change it to a decimal, is it? 39 divided by 60, what is that? 0.65, is that a number between 0 and 1? Okay, so I can have it as a decimal, because that decimal is decent, right? I can keep it as a fraction. Does this fraction simplify? Put 39 ABC 60 in your calculator. 13 over what? 13 over 20. Any 3 of those answers would be acceptable on your OST. Because I did not round that decimal, right? Remember, if you have to round a decimal, don't put it down. Just keep it as a fraction. So this is my unsimplified, that's my simplified, and that's my decimal equivalent. So those are all of my choices. Some questions? Okay, let's pick a new color for the next guy. I'm gonna go red. So, the probability that a randomly selected individual is female and owns an SUV. Who am I selecting from? It doesn't say that. Read it again. A randomly selected what? So, who are individuals? Everybody. Those are people. You see how that female just threw you off? You see how it says a probability of a randomly selected individual. So individual means everybody. So I'm taking from the whole table, which means my total is going to be what? Okay, my total is going to be 240. Remember, the bottom number, the total, is the hardest one, the most often messed up. Besides the and the ors that you still don't want to get in your heads. Okay, so the individuals are 240. We want to know what the probability of a randomly selected individual is female and owns an SUV. So we want female and SUV. Female and SUV. Female and SUV. Female and SUV. What does and mean? Must be both at the same time. So both at the same time. Both at the same time. both at the same time. So I need to be a female who has an SUV. So in my table, where are the females who have SUVs? Here. So it's going to be 135 over 240, my total. See if you can simplify that into a pretty fraction. See if you can get a pretty decimal. Go ahead and do all your simplifying. Practice on your calculator so that way you get faster and faster at it. Save time on your OST. Now remember, that answer is fine for OST. If it's multiple choice, they would always have it in simplest form, so make sure you practice getting simplest form too, because this clearly simplifies, right? Into what? 9 over 16. That is way prettier. So if it was multiple choice, you'd probably see that, right? Does it turn into a nice decimal? Do top divided by bottom. Yes, no. Not super nice? Just leave it like that then if it's not super nice. Okay. Let's do the third one. I'll go green. So we want what? Percentage. Please underline that so you remember the percentage of individuals who own a sports car. So who am I picking from? Individuals, which is everybody. So I'm taking the whole table. And so that means my total is 240. Check for your total all the time. So who own a sports car? So where's my sports car people? 39, 45, and 84, right? Which number do I use? 84 is the total of them. So that's 84. Be careful now. Don't take all of those numbers. That doesn't make sense because these two people are those people, right? 84 out of 240. Can I leave this one as a fraction? No, because it says percentage. So what do we have to do to change this to a percent? Top divided by bottom. Put it in there. What do we got? 0.35. Still not okay. Multiply by 100. What do we get? Always multiply by 100 because it is percents are out of 100. And remember, you probably learned the trick of moving the decimal over 2 places, although some people jack that up. So, especially if there's extra decimals in it. We are practicing on these, and people are giving me weird answers. So, make sure just multiply by 100 is all the check. Takes you a second. Okay, cool. Questions on the front? All right. This inside of the foldable, every single question on the inside is a released OST question. So these are all questions that have shown up on the OST before. Some are easier than others, but a lot of them contain a lot of words. Okay, so let's read this one and pick out what's important. I like to look at the table first. Look at the table. What do you think the table's about? It looks like 11th and 12th graders, and they were asked what? If they like the zoo or the amusement park. What's missing from this table? Totals. How many totals are we missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's one in the corner. So we are missing 5 totals. Do we need all of them? We just discovered out of the 5, we're only going to need 1. So some people like to take this table and do all the totals, but stop being so extra. Okay, let's just figure out what we need first before we decide which total we're going to use. Okay, so we have a survey was conducted comparing the number of 11th to 12th graders who prefer the amusement park or the zoo. We literally just discovered all of that just by looking at the picture, right? So if you think that there's too many words so you're going to skip it, don't, because those words were just gibberish. Based on the results in the table, what is the probability that students preferred a class trip to the zoo given that they are in 11th grade? So what's important? We are doing probability, so are we going to be getting a decimal? No. I'm sorry, yes. We're not going to get a percent. Probability that a student preferred a class trip to the zoo. So we do need that. We do need the zoo, right? What else do we need? Can you do me a favor and circle this word given? I love to use that word. What does it mean if I say given that they are in 11th grade? Not and. Well, yes. Don't think of it that way. If I say given that you're in 11th grade, what does that mean? Are you allowed to be in 12th grade? Okay, so this means only 11th graders. So I'm talking about only 11th graders. And I guarantee your OST will have that wording like that. They love given that. And sometimes they put it at the beginning of the sentence. Given that a student is in 11th grade, what's the probability of them having blah, blah, blah? You know what I mean? So they could put it anywhere in the sentence. So in this table, who do I not need? So what can I do with this table? I don't need this at all. Don't even look at it. So do I need to do all my totals? What's the only total I need to do? The 11th grade total. So let's go ahead and tack on a little total over here and just do the total of 11th grade, which is what? Huh? 50? Okay. So we do need that 50. We didn't need the other ones. Okay, so that means our bottom number is going to be a 50. And our top number is going to be what? The zoo, which was what? 18. So 18 out of 50 is our answer. We can clean that up. What's that? Simplify. 9 over 25 would be okay. What kind of decimal we got? 0.35. That's pretty. Any of those answers would be fine. Good. Questions? No questions? Right, number 2. Okay, let's look at the table first and tell me what the table's about. Look at it. What are the 2 categories? Age, maybe, adults and kids. And what's the other thing? So what's that mean? People who did what and what? Bought their tickets the day of the concert or bought their tickets ahead of time, right? Okay, so that's what our table's about. And we have all our totals, even though we know we're only going to need one of them, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and read it now. The table shows when the tickets for the concert were sold and the types of tickets sold. Okay, blah, blah. We don't even need that. What is the probability that a randomly selected person attending the concert, randomly selected from who? People attending the concert. Is this table all people that are attending the concert? Yeah, they're kids and adults. Some bought their tickets early, some bought them the day of, but they're all attending the concert. So this is everybody, right? So that means what's our total? Our total is going to be 250 because that's everybody. Okay, so randomly selecting a person attending the concert is an adult or has purchased the ticket in advance. Adult, magic word, or purchased in advance. So that means, what does or mean? I like it both ways. I like it being an adult, and I like it doing them in advance. Okay, so in this table, who do I like? Do I like the 48? Those are adults. Do I like the 100? Are those adults? Uh-huh. Do I like the 148? But do I need the 148? I don't, because why? That's those people right there. So don't double count. Don't take the totals. I already said the 48 and the 100, so stay away from the totals, okay? When you have ands and ors, write yourself a note. Stay away from totals. Stay away from the totals. The reason you stay away from the totals is because you're probably already counting those people, and we don't want to count them again, right? Okay, so stay away from your totals. Don't do the 148 if you already did the 48 and the 100, right? Who else do I like? Adults or people that bought their tickets in advance. So where are those people? They're in this column, right? So the 100 I already checked off. I need this 40, right? Do I need this 140? Stay away from totals. You already got them. So how many numbers do I need? I only need 3 of them. I need this 48 plus this 100 plus this 40. What do I get? 188, and we already decided what was our total. 250. And we want a probability, so that's okay to leave it like that. You could also simplify that or change it to a decimal if it's pretty. Is it pretty? Yeah? Are you good? Okay, look up here for a second, because here's what the common mistake that happens. The common mistake that happens. Ready? Look up here so that you don't do this common mistake. So, people will read this, and they'll say they want the adults or the people purchasing tickets in advance. So they'll look at this table, and they'll say 148, people buying tickets in advance, they'll say 140, and then what will they get? They're going to get 288. Is that how many people there are? What's the problem with doing it this way? These people got counted there, and then there also, right? So make sure you don't do, stay away from the totals, and then you don't have to worry about counting people twice. Because you can't take these two numbers, even though that's what it says right here, because those 100 people are counted there and there, so you're going to be 100 over, right? Some books actually tell you to do add those and then look for the overlap and subtract it, which works. I feel like it's extra. Okie dokie? Okay. All right. Let's look at a table. Tell me what this table looks like without you reading anything. Why are those numbers all funky? They've already changed those kind of like into fractional parts of the total, if that makes sense. So they've taken their total and divided it, all the original numbers by it, and gotten those. This is your relative frequency table. What's missing? Totals. How many totals would this table have? 6. Carlton, 6, right? Because you have 1, 2, 3, right? 4, 5, and then you have the corner one, so you would have 6 for this table. But we all know we only need one of them, so don't be extra and start getting your calculator out and wasting your time. So it says a survey of 3 different hospitals, recent patients asked whether their patients, physicians communicated efficiently. Now, okay, like, maybe I'm special, but when I read that, lightweight is hard to make sense out of it. And that is legit a copied test question off the OST. The wording of it is just so weird. I get it. 3 different hospitals, recent patients asked. It doesn't even make sense to me. But I get what they're trying to get at, but still, I'm like, what? I literally like read that like 7 times and it still never makes sense. Anyways, they asked some patients at these 3 hospitals whether their doctor communicated efficiently. Okay, and here's the results. So what is the probability that a randomly selected patient located at Saratoga? Patient located at Saratoga. That's who you're picking from, right? Are you picking from everyone? No. Okay, who's can I scribble out? I can get rid of Glen Falls and Albany. Those are gone. I don't even care. Albany, whatever. It's Albany, just for the record. Okay, so a randomly was satisfied. So who are the people that are satisfied? The yeses or the nos? These are my yeses. Okay, so our total is that. So what is our total going to be? Do we have it? No, we need it. So we do need a total. But we know the total is going to be this. So go to your table. We do need that total. So let's add to the bottom of the Saratoga column. What's our total? 0. What? 365. Okay. So our total is going to be 0.365. And we need all of our yeses out of the total. So who are our yeses? These are our yeses. So it's going to be 0.288 over 0.365. Okay, so go ahead and put that in your calculator using the ABC button. Do me a favor and do that. And what happens? You get an error, right? Because nobody likes decimals inside the fractions. And I think on OST, if you try to put that in, it might kick that back as an error, right? So you need to fix that. If you want to change it to a fraction that works, you can do the trick. However many places I move this over, I can move this over, and then I have normal numbers. Like I could move this over and have 288 out of 365. That would work. Or you can just do top divided by bottom and turn it to a decimal, okay? So, does it come out pretty or no? It doesn't come out pretty no matter what, right? If you did 288 over 365, what does that simplify to? If you just did 288 ABC 365, what do you get? It doesn't simplify? Okay, so this fraction would be fine. Or if it said approximately, it would be like a 0.78. What's the next number? 9. So what's the number after the 9? 0? Okay, so that's fine. Settle down over there. What do you think is your birthday? Take a minute on number 4 and fill in your table. On your mark, get set, go. If you don't have a calculator in your hand, you're lazy. What's the number up here? 8,250. What's this one? 3 what? Okay. Like when I ask for a number, you purposely try to slur it all together really fast. Like, 5,000. Like, slow down. Okay, so there are our numbers. What is the probability that a female student chosen at random is pursuing an undergraduate degree? So, what's our total? We are only using what? We are only using females, aren't we? That a female student chosen at random, which means we did extra work and we didn't even need to, right? Because we only needed that row. So our total is going to be 12500. And we want the undergrad people, which is how many? So our undergrad people are 8,000. So it's going to be 8,000 over thank you, over 12,500. And I'm sure that that simplifies because there's a bunch of zeros on the end. So clean that up. What is it? 16 over 25. That's beautiful. Love 16 over 25. All right. Look at the last one. Words, words, words. Okay, let's look at a table. Do you think you can fill this table in correctly? What could go in these two spots? Give me two numbers. 40 and 40. What else? 60 and 20. What else? 50 and 30. All kinds of weird numbers. So if you get something like this, the number one mistake is people just want to fill stuff in that might be true. You can't do that. If you can't fill it in, you got to read the clues and fill it in correctly. You can't just, it doesn't say what table could work. No. So let's read all these words they have. Now, what's this table about? We don't know by looking at it. We got males and females, kids and adults, so something, right? Okay, so let's read it. It says a total of 200 people attend a party. 200 people attend the party. Is that already here? Okay, don't even need it. Got it. That's not going to help us out. That's not a clue that's going to help us, right? Okay, and they're in the table. Got it. A person is selected at random to win a prize. Yay. Hope the prize is good. The probability of selecting a female is 0.6. So it says the probability of selecting a female. So that's females out of the total is 0.6. That's what that sentence just says, right? Females is 0.6. So that's this. Okay, so look at our table. Do we have females? We got it. It's 120, right? Do we have the total? 200? Okay, does that equal 0.6? Does 120 over 200 equal 0.6? Yes or no? Put it in your calculator. Yeah. It does. Boom. Does it get us anything in the table? No. So it's useless information. Same as total of 200 people. Useless information. We already got it. Okay, so let's go to the next sentence. The probability of selecting a child, given that the person is female, is 0.5. The probability of selecting a child, given that they're female. So who am I talking about? I'm talking about females right here. I'm talking about the probability of the child out of females. Do I know the child? So let's call him a variable. What do you want to call him? X. Okay, so let's look for that because they just said the probability of a child out of females. So X out of 120 has to equal 0.25. So that's what that sentence says. And can you now figure out what X is? Yes. Okay, so go ahead. What do we have to do to make this figure out what X is? Put that over 1, cross multiply, go ahead. So we get 1x is equal to what? 30? Okay, so we can go to our table now. Let's put 30 in here now. Because now can you fill out the table? Okay, go ahead and fill out the table then. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Finish this. Because your guesses are not right. I mean, it's a nice try, but it didn't work out. So what really is this number? That's really a 20. That means that this has to be a 60. And this down here has to be a 90. So maybe you would have guessed right, and maybe you would not have. But you got to use clues. We are gluing on page 62. So go ahead and glue